So we wanted that. We wanted what we saw our older homies doing in the neighborhood.
And I grew to appreciate, people standing on their own, being something different, and standing on being something different. When you're a kid, you see certain things. You see these cars, you see the lifestyle, but you don't see like all the layers behind it, right? But you start to remember things. You remember somebody give you $100 when $5 was a lot of money and these things like that. So, I remember it like being a bragging point, right? Like somebody be like, oh, my cousin is this, or my cousin hang with Rayful. Like that was just like, that's how big it was. Rayful's story was bigger than life at the time. He was like, just like the name that you would hear, especially like, after he got locked up and the news started hitting things of that nature. My man, Big E, is the one that kind of put me on Antonio and was like, and I had heard the name, but he was like, no, I think you need to really do your research on who Antonio Jones and what he meant.
That militant lifestyle in the streets, in the neighborhoods, of course it would seem crazy to some people, but we came up impressed by that and we just thought we were untouchable because of that. Our big uncles would, we would protect it, would have us wearing bulletproof vests. In my career, which I don't think was meant for me to continue in that lifestyle, I got away with some things, but karma caught up with me and, I got shot at 21. So that took me all the way down because I was paralyzed from the neck down. So, that time I spent in the hospital recovering from that gunshot wound let me know, I had time to decide, well, this is not the route I'm supposed to take.
Excessively feel extreme fatigue or have blurred vision due to diabetes. Place this under your tongue and watch the sugar flush out through your urine. Most people don't know this, but the real cause of blood sugar imbalance has nothing to do with eating too many carbs, sugar,
Stuck in
or
the
even
chaos
your
of
age,
schedules and timesheets.
as we were always led to believe. In reality, the true villain is the buildup of sticky, protein-filled cells that suffocate your pancreas and block the natural release of insulin. As a result, sugar gets trapped in the pancreas and is forced back into the bloodstream, causing your levels to spike.
So it started at this house right here, right? It had a whole porch on it. It was one of our stash houses. We used to be in there every night. So when we in there one night, everybody ripping and running. So they had already had the contract hit out on us, Metropolitan Police, 5th District anyway. I get caught in the alley one time and I ain't got my hammer on me. Everybody know what a hammer is. Yeah. I didn't have that on me, so I said, oh, they the police. So they running and ripping. So I ran down the alley because I didn't want to go back in the house. We had too much money and too many, weapons and stuff like that in the house. So when I hit the alley, I jumped through that yard right there. I knew the lady that owned the house. I tried to get in the tree, but I said, dang, I can't get in the tree, they right here. So I had to climb up the pole. The reason why I went up the pole is because I'm empty-handed, so I ain't gonna just let them get me like that. So I stayed up that pole right there and stayed up there. And they looked all around. They was in the alley for about 15, 20 minutes. They never looked up. And I was up in them wires right there with them telephone poles. I was right there. Some of these buildings was abandoned, right, back in the day. So what we should do is, we had boards on, and we'd get the guys that do carpentry work, the guys that give me the keys, all them, we'll put hinges on the wood so you can think it's locked, but we just open it up and it'll come right open. We had one side of the floors tore out. So if the police coming in to chase us, if they don't know what building they're in, we knew what building we was in, so we'd run on the right side of the hallway. If you run on the left side of the hallway, you're gonna drop all the way down to the basement. So we kept that. Then we had up at top, we had big ropes hanging down from the skylight, and we used to jimmy up the ropes, get on the roofs. We had houses down on that end, so we'd come out on one of the other houses if the police down in here. And we had a big shootout one time with the police right in this alley right here, because we used to keep the alley booby trap. We had wires, we had refrigerators, we had wash machine, anything was big and bulky to stop anybody from coming through the alleyways. All in all, it just was one big picture, and we just, did what we had to do.
I'm gonna say, I would say probably just the inner workings of the Rayful family and the organization. You think he was this huge figure, right? Even on a national level, and you just think, it's the aura about him was special, but you also see why, nothing ever happened to him, why he was never touched, how this operation was able to get to the size that it was, and you know, we do all this research and it always come back to this guy right here, you know, that he was a protection, that he was respected on all corners of the city. And, you know, he came through and kind of cleaned up shop. And as soon as he did that, Rayful money just started piling.
I've been knowing Ray since he was a little young kid, right? They're much younger than me. So me and his older brother, Melbo, we like this. We still like that today. His uncle was an older guy that when I used to be around Orleans Place in the 70s, he was one of those kind of guys you just couldn't mess with. I mean, he was a laid-back guy, but if you get him wrong, you can see something that you never wanted to see. And I done seen him in action a lot with his hands. Couldn't do nothing with him, you know? So my relationship with the uncle, it made my relationship with the other half of the family even stronger because he was one of them guys that protected us when we was kids, you know? And a lot of other guys, you know, I can't remember a lot of them, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm getting old too. The relationship with Ray, it was like, when we started together, all of us, we did our thing, but I had got into a situation uptown, one of my partners, we was up on 9th Street. He caught a case, and when he went in, I went to Ray and say, look, I don't have nobody to watch my back like I really want to, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come home and dig in. If it's all right with you, this is what I wanna do. And when I told him that, he said, man, shit, whatever you wanna do is all right with me, Slam. I told him, I said, let me run the show, let me do what I wanna do, and I'll show you better than I can tell you. So during the course of that time, it was like a lot of guys running off with money, doing a whole lot of things that they shouldn't do. When I came around, I made sure all that stopped. But you know, they always say, what's the difference between a boxer and a knife pusher? Knife pusher, make sure you get the point. So that's what I did. I made sure they got the point.
Nice. Money left.
Basically, I used to watch a lot of military stuff, but you know, my brother went to the service, man, in the 60s. And by him being a part of that military scene, he always taught me how to hand-to-hand combat. He taught me to pay attention to the small details. And that's what I did. I made sure that everything that I seen or done, I tried to make him proud of me every time I made a move, you know? Yeah, this house in particular, yeah, I used to hide in this house on the inside. It was abandoned then. Oh, yeah? Yeah, I used to get the dude, give me the keys. I would give him a certain amount of money a week. He working on it in the daytime. He just tell me don't be in there in the daytime. So I always come in at night. I used to use it for one of my surveillance spots. I had spots all over the whole neighborhood. They ain't never know where I was at. So that's what was good about me. I stayed out of the way. I was always behind the scenes, not, you know, in the front of the scene. Right. It was this block right here it was just so crowded, man. It was so many people around this block here, man, it didn't make sense. It's like you really couldn't drive through here because it was just cars double parked, people getting out, you know, the young girls hollering at some of the guys that work around here. Yeah. Times was just
girls
money,
was hollering.
Everybody.
Did you hear that?
Yeah, you know, back then, hair salons was making money. Everybody was making money because when they get the money, you know, they looking out for the girls, looking out for the women, making sure they look nice. But the traffic around here, one day we came outside and it was so many people out here. And I looked at my partner back then at the time, and the first thing I told him, I said, man, we have arrived. And we would run out of the stuff so much, we had to have constantly get our people to bring more stuff. You know what I'm saying? Because we couldn't supply everybody like that. We just had to keep coming, keep hitting it, keep getting money.
Hi there, is Dr. Chad Walden, co-founder of Native Path. We look at collagen differently than other supplement companies. It's so much more than a supplement. Collagen is...
The verdict today in the Edmond drug ring trial in Washington, 24-year-old Rayful Edmond convicted of running a $2 million a week cocaine crime outfit in the nation's capital. The one-time schoolyard basketball star faces a mandatory life sentence now. 10 co-defendants, including friends and relatives, were found guilty on related charges. Security surrounding the trial was unusually tight. Names of the jurors were kept secret even from the judge and lawyers to guard against possible reprisals.
Well, I've always been strong when it comes to anything. If I can't control it, if the judge give you 20 years, 10 years, 5 years, you got to do that time. That's the reality of it. I had life without parole twice. They took it from me, took me back to court, gave it to me all over again. That's me, Rayful, and Tony Lord. They gave us life all over again. Everybody else got 27, 25, 24, whatever have you, but they kept me with the life and kept us three with the life. So my inner strength was always my mother. I always thought about, my mother would never want me to break weak. My mother would never want me, I just didn't never want to have my mother look at me in a wrong direction. You know what I'm saying? That's always been my strength, my mother. Even when she passed, I have not shed one tear today. When I was in the streets doing what I was doing, I didn't have a problem with any of it. See, I'm one of them guys, I ain't never been scared to die. That's how I grew up, that's how I was. That was my thought process, So basically, man, now, I'm older. I got to think of my grandkids, my great-grandkids, and, my children, and my wife. I just got to keep my mind right, you know what I'm saying? So I don't condone any of that negativity. I stay away from it. I keep it away from me. And I'm just living, man. I'm just happy to be here.
Well, from a cautionary tale, it's like, the youth today, you have to kind of meet them where they are. They don't really want to hear prison stories. And I've learned that recently. They want to know what's going on. They want resources. They want to know how they can get some money. They want to take shortcuts, and you have to know how to check them. You have to know how to let them know that, look, this is not an easy process. There's no shortcut to everything. You have to be consistent in their lives. Being cautionary, you need to let them know, look, there's going to be consequences to what you do.
America has done a number on black people. You grow up putting your hand on your chest and saying, your Pledge of Allegiance, and you think, the government is, the top and a place of honor and things like that. And it is supposed to be, right? But you start to learn that, through redlining and things, that black people just put up against so many walls, right? And so pushed into environments where they had to survive, where stress levels are high. Like, what is it like, not being able to eat and not knowing where money's going to come from? That just puts a stress on people, where people have to go and do things that they probably wouldn't do, right? When you get pushed against the wall, you got to find a way to shine. So that's why it's glorification on the hood. People want to be from the hood. They want to act like they poor and don't have money and stuff like that. But that came from the pressures. Like, everybody wants to be proud of something, right? So as the people that's come from these neighborhoods, they want to be proud of something. They want to stand out, right? And so that's why you might start selling drugs. Like, I want to live like the rich and famous. I want to see that. I want to touch that, right? I want to be proud of something, you know what I mean? And so I think my biggest takeaway is that, we're survivors, but yeah, the country's done a number on us, from dumping drugs in certain places, being involved in certain things, and being, racist against us has put us in some predicaments. We've survived, you know what I mean? We've lost a lot of people, but that's the biggest thing I've seen. And it's one of the reasons I want to get married. I want to have kids so I can provide guidance and, like, put them out into the world. And hopefully, you know what I mean? I guess we got to start with ourselves, man, because nobody else going to help us. That's what I've learned.
Because a lot of these young kids nowadays, they 15, 16, 17 years old, shooting people, catching all these cases. But their parents is going through that mental stuff too. They need to be talked to. So now, I'm in a position now where I work with a council member, Juanica Fisher, in District 2 in Hyattsville. I'm a senior liaison for her. She was one of the persons that had vision to allow me to be a part of something, you know what I'm saying? And she took a chance on me because she gives everybody chances. So now, I be in spots with the mayor, the governor, all types of people, you know what I'm saying, that I would never even be able to be in a room with. Some of the majors and the captains and the lieutenants in the PG County Police Department, I'd be everywhere with them, you know what I'm saying, the coffee shops and all that stuff, you know what I'm saying, because I changed my life. My life is in a good place right now. So I want to touch on that by saying that everybody deserves a chance. I got mine, and I'm trying to make the best of it.
I didn't foresee in a million years that he'd be out here moving in the direction we moving in. What you see is what you get. I mean, that's the game. That's the rules. You're gonna be in this life, you know. That's the rule book.
Well, it's kind of funny because early on when we were filming Antonio, I was listening to his story, and he said he's a protector, and that's what I feel as though I am by nature is a protector, and in my line of work, that's what you have to be. And as I approach a client, my whole thing is just not the physical aspect of security, but my mindset is that I'm here to protect you physically, emotionally, and financially.
Pay attention to the underlying story. Recognize character, because that's what makes a man. Play by the rules, you're gonna be all right always.
It's a blessing to have him, home, obviously, but to be positive and a good mind state and just being a family guy that he is, and it's a beautiful thing.
The quickest way to clear out stuck poop, can't go, do this.
Damn, bitch. Come on, hear that?
The level you need to deal with him on business-wise, socially. It's cool to be cool with people. We're the pawns, but at the same time, even though we're the pawns, we gotta know how the other pawns are moving. You gotta see them motherfuckers, because a pawn will take your ass out too. Right. In chess. You can look at somebody and be like, oh, they're just a pawn, yeah, but that pawn will wipe your motherfucking ass out if you don't pay attention. So it's my job as an armchair cultural anthropologist to call out the chess plays like I did in basketball. Your center call out, oh, they're in zone. Oh, they're in man. We're in 3-1. I mean, we're in 3-2, 2-3, 1-3-1.
Right.
Boxing one. You got to call the defense out. If you play Madden, nigga, you got to know.
Nickel dime.
They're in too deep. If the defense is in too deep, you can run a slant route across the middle or run a scissors route and get a strong safety, have to make a decision between a wide receiver and a flanker. That pass is open all day, but you got to know what defense they in. Shouts out to all my niggas that play Madden football. So back to what we talking about. We just calling out the defense here, okay? And so we're watching this play get made, and we're seeing the cost of it. When we already talked about in previous shows, the construction sites, the Department of Motor Vehicles, here in LA, the city jobs, the banking jobs. Let me give you a personal story. What set me on the path to being an entrepreneur was I started out my work life working in banking. I worked at a bank, Washington Mutual Bank, and then I went from there to mortgage banking, doing hard money loans. I did Alt-A loans, subprime. I was part of the whole subprime mortgage collapse in 2008, 7 year. I lost $18,000 in commissions one day in March 6th. I think it was 2008 in signed loans. But all them goddamn Countrywide went out of business. Greenpoint Mortgage Run. It was hell here in California. Bear Stearns went out of business. All these, it was a crazy day for you people that was in high school. Y'all don't know what the fuck it was when that mortgage market collapsed. I was part of it. So when that happened around that time, I had 5 years experience working in a bank and another like 7 years experience doing mortgage. Because I did mortgage my last 3 years at the bank and then 2 years out of it, the 5 years out of it. So I had all this experience doing banking and mortgage, and I had a college degree. Do you know I applied for a job 13 months under the name DeWan Brown, D-W-A-N-N. What does D-W-A-N-N sound like? That sounds like a nigga name.
DeWan.
And I didn't get a call back for an interview for 13 months. I applied to over 100 jobs. College degree, 9 years banking experience. No call back.
That's crazy.
Now, when I changed my name and went by the alias Don Brown, D-O-N, I got like 15 calls back for interviews. And all 15, it was like, nope. First off, before I even get to the interview part, let's talk about how few jobs I could even apply for. Why? Because I didn't speak Spanish. I did not speak Spanish. So 2/3 of the jobs I was applying for, I couldn't even apply for because I didn't speak Spanish. So me being a black American born in the United States of America, family been on this soil since 1640, documented. And before that, because I have indigenous family, who knows how long they've been here. Been paying taxes since taxes was invented. I couldn't get a job in my own city, in my own country. I couldn't apply for 2/3 of the jobs out there because I don't speak Spanish. That's cost number one. When you're dealing with illegal immigration, they get away with the fact that, hey, some of our customers can't speak English, so we need all of our employees to speak Spanish, unless you're white. If you're white, you don't have to speak no fucking Spanish. But if you're black, you do. And if you know how to speak Spanish, we probably still ain't gonna hire your black ass. That's a cost. Now, when I'm applying for this $96,000 a year job at Comerica Bank in 2007 that I overly qualified for, because I was the business manager when I worked at the bank. I was in control of the bank vault when I was 19, nigga. But when I had that job at Washington Mutual Bank, it was a black woman that hired me. That was referred by it was my sister's friend that referred me to that job. That's how I got the job. But I couldn't get the job. The only 2 long-term jobs I had in my whole life. And I'm somebody, this is my personal testimony. I'm the nigga that did it right. No record, clean driving record. I ain't even got a motherfucking parking ticket on my record, nigga. Did it right. Got the college degree. Did everything America said I'm supposed to do. And I couldn't get a job in my own fucking city. In something I got 9 years experience in and a college degree. So that forced me to switch lanes. I couldn't get another. I had a friend at the time that his girlfriend's mom worked at this job working with kids, working mental health. A company that was contracted by the Department of Mental Health, which is going to lead me to the next cost. So because I have a friend whose mom is in charge of hiring, I got the job. Because nothing I applied to I could get. Again, I'm not one of these niggas that got a record. I ain't got no back child support. Salute to those. That's fucked up too. We ain't even talking about the brothers who got back child support. Why do they have back child support? They can't get a fucking job. So you got brothers who got back child support because the job situation ain't right because of how America's working, and then that goes on their record. Now they can't even get a job because of the back child support. That's a story too. Thank God that's not my story. But it's a story for a lot of brothers who love their fucking children, who would do anything for their kids. Anything for their kids. It's a lot of brothers out there that can't get a good opportunity because of back child support. But somebody can hop over a fence and have all kind of kids across the border. We don't know. It's not stopping them from getting a job, is it? So that's a cost because America is still going to maintain a workforce. They could put Black America through all of these obstacles and still maintain a workforce. And still maintain a workforce. So I don't have none. I didn't fall in none of these traps set up for black men. I avoided the gang trap. Ooh. I avoided the getting something on my record at an early age. Woo. I avoided the child support. Woo.
Woo. Different shit, son.
I got the degree. Ugh.
And then what happened?
Still can't get a job.
Damn.
And I'm an excellent worker. I'm an excellent worker. Always on time. I'm an on-time ass nigga. If it's anybody in this chat room, it's people that I don't know if they may not be in the chat room now, but it's people who worked with me. Anybody who's gotten the reading with me, I'm on time. I don't do late. I fully deliver. I don't half-ass nothing. If you and I do business together, my part gonna be pristine. Cause I ain't trying to be nobody's fuck up. Couldn't get a job. Then I finally got this job working with the Department of Mental Health, this company. And I have this picture up because my office was right in the same area of LA that they have over here. This is the West Adams area. My office was not too far from here. And so I got that job, and when I was on that job, I realized at the time I was 29, something like that. I was something like 29 years old, 28. And I realized, I was like 20, I was like 20, I don't know, I was like 20, between 27 and 29, somewhere in there. I realized, I was like, man, I'm 27, 28 years old. And the only two long-term jobs I got was because I knew a black woman that was in charge of hiring. I cannot trust the rest of my life to knowing somebody. I'm gonna have to figure out this business thing while I'm here. Because it's probably the last job I'm gonna get. And I made that up in my mind. And so I enrolled in all kind of classes at the Small Business Development Center, used the internet, YouTube University to really learn. Then while I was at that job, what I did was I worked at this place where we did mental health, and we work with kids. We work with children, and this is how it worked. Going down to the cost of illegal immigration. First with the jobs. Because the illegal immigrants, their children don't pick cherries. Their children enter the corporate workforce. But if you speak Spanish and you do get a job, the Spanish speaker gets $10,000 a year more than you. So when I started that job didn't pay shit. That's why I'm glad I always was a professional drummer and other shit. Thank God I always made money 5 different ways. Because that job wouldn't have sustained me for shit. But it did get me back on my feet. I'm in this job paying, it was like less than $50,000 a year. And I'm still driving a 2-year-old Audi A6 that cost $70,000. Times got rough. I'm literally going through the Imperial Courts in 2009. I'm going through the Nickerson Gardens in a 2007 Audi A6. Talk about getting humbled like a motherfucker. So I get this job that's getting me back on my feet. And so I'm going through the hiring process. Our position got paid like less than $50 a year, but if you spoke Spanish, your pay started at $65.
Oh, that's that bullshit.
So we're talking about a $16,000 a year pay difference. Between $16,000 to $20,000 a year pay difference. Off top, not including raises. So equally qualified workers, because, and let me tell you the truth, half of them don't speak Spanish. Half do, half don't. You get somebody who don't speak who really don't speak Spanish, but they have, their last name is Rodriguez, they get the job. So they're starting off $16,000 a year more than you.
Hold up.
Even when you do get the job. So now we're talking about you expand that kind of a pay difference and you take that over 20 years. You expand that over 20 years and see what it can do. The cost of illegal immigration. You paying for it at your job even if you get one. So that's one. Next part. Do you know that we used to, how our company worked was we would build a department of mental health for each client that we see. And this is where it costs you. So you might be a white person in here or a non-black and you saying so, okay, fine. Your mama got rotten spoiled titty milk. But aside from that, now let me show where it costs you, Mr. and Mrs. Taxpayer. Y'all make more money than us, so that means y'all pay more taxes than us. So I mean more of this shit's coming out of your pocket than mine. Listen up, bitch. When we see a kid, I worked in a department called FSP, Full Service Partnership. It was three people on a team. If you had wraparound services, you had 4 to 5 people on the team. But it was similar to wraparound services. And each person on the team bills the county for every minute that they see you. We bill the county by the minute. So if you were a parent partner or a case manager and you're billing services usually came out to be about $2 a minute. If you're a clinician, your clinician minutes were like $5 a minute. And each one on this team is seeing this kid at least 1 hour a week, another hour in other time. So about each person is seeing this kid about, let's say they're billing the county 2 hours a week, each person on the team. But at, let's see, for the two times 120, at 2 minutes a session for one person, that's 240 for 2 people, plus, let me see, times 2, that's 480. 480 plus a clinician's charge of, let's say, because it's 5 some change. A clinician's charge $6 a minute times 120 minutes. 720. 720 plus 480. 1,200. So the county is getting billed $1,200 a week from this one kid. My agency alone in my department, we had about, in total, about 200 kids. And we were just one section of one agency. Agency overall was responsible for like 700 kids. So imagine 700 kids who are on average cost $1,200 a week each times 700. That's $840,000 a week.
Okay.
For each agency is billing the county. We're just one of like 9 agencies. And then there's still the direct Department of Mental Health. You literally have tens of thousands of kids. And why does that pay you? Why does that concern you about illegal immigration? Let me tell you why. Because the overwhelming majority of students, of kids, were children of illegal immigrants. Yeah. And how they justify and how they get these services, this is how the county gets these services. They get these services because we build the child, not the parent. You build the child, not the parent. So illegals aren't getting services. The children of illegals are getting services.
Okay. We won't pay it. We are. They build a child and we pay it. Wow, that's
That's coming, and that's just one county in one state. This is just one job. That's how they get it. That's the slick way the Democrats get away with this. And trust and believe, these is white-owned companies getting all this money, contracted with the DMH. We're not even going to talk about the non-public schools that get paid to house black children who don't have a mental health issue. They just a boarding class. But you put them on medicine and put them in these non-public schools. We ain't even gonna talk about, we're just one service. Oftentimes, these kids have 3 or 4 comparable services. They're on this other service that gets the mom access to Section 8 to where she, so even though mom's illegal, again, mom is illegal, the children aren't. So the children get partnered with these services that can get Section 8 housing for their parents.
That's crazy.
Your taxes. No, those taxes are not technically going to an illegal. They're going to the children. And let me take it further than that. What's up, DW? Thanks for the super chat. You say you worked at DMH contractor agency and the Latino staff would get the pay differential because they're Spanish speaking. Yeah, but they wouldn't have an entire Spanish speaking caseload. Right. And I remember one time we had a layoff in our company around like 2017. You know who they laid off, right?
Black.
Basically, all the black employees named not named me and a couple others. And they were like, no, we keeping the Latino ones because the Latinos can speak both languages. We had 2 of our Latino staff that barely knew English. How in the hell are these 2 gonna work with the black parents? They barely know English. Sweetheart. She was a sweetheart. I'm not gonna say my co-workers' names, but she was a sweetheart. But she couldn't speak English. Sweetheart.
Huh?
But my other co-workers that worked well with those parents had to get the short end of the stick because they couldn't speak Spanish. But we're in Los Angeles, California. Not Chihuahua. Can I go to Mexico, not speak Spanish, and get a job over somebody else who does not even know the language? I think not. Look at this lie. Undocumented people pay more in taxes than get back in services. Bullshit. You come into a place, the taxes, the foundation for the taxes you pay have already been laid when you got here. When you go into a city that's already developed, the roads are already paved, the freeways are already made, the schools are already constructed, the corporate facilities are already built. You're already getting everything that the taxpayers paid for, fool. You're coming into an infrastructure that did not exist where you came from. Because if it did, you'd still be there. So no, you get a giant handout just by being here. Being able to come to this land and not know the language and get a job, that is your handout. The little you pay in taxes is minuscule. They hire you for goddamn $5 an hour. The little penny any ass taxes you paying ain't nothing close to what you getting back into all this infrastructure that you came in. Sit your man. So look, we gotta dispel these lies, people. They repeat lies. Think about it. My grandparents, think about it. We've been paying taxes generationally. My great-grandparents lived at a time taxes were 50%. Taxes was expensive than a motherfucker during World War II. My My great-grandparents, my grandparents lived, their taxes built all of this shit. Your great-grandparents' taxes, if that way, whatever country you come from, some countries pay taxes, some don't. I'm not gonna say I don't know which country people come from, but if your country did pay taxes, those taxes went to that country. So that's a cost. And I remember I had this one client, she was 23 years old with 5 kids, illegal. All 5 had autism, quote unquote. Oh, let's get into the cost of autism and mental health disabilities. What that does. Now, your child has a mental health issue. Now the school, because of rights law, and because I work in IEP, my profession is IEPs. Now your kid has an IEP. Now the school district has to pay occupational therapists. They gotta pay speech and language therapists. They gotta pay behavioral therapists. And each one of these therapies are billing the county $2, $3, $4, $5 a minute. And the overwhelming majority of people in the LA Unified, according to my experience, with these services are Latino, and most of them, not all, but the majority of them have illegal parents. That's just my experience.